Thank you everyone for joining us for another Camera West webinar. Today we have a special guest with us today, Rick May. He is a sports and landscape photographer located up in the Seattle, Washington area. And he's got a little bit different perspective on action and landscape photography that you don't really see all too often. So we decided to have him here on the show. Rick's been a good friend of ours for numerous years now, and he's also an ambassador for Light in Motion Lights. And this webinar is actually brought to you by Light in Motion Lights. They're kind of our sponsor, if you will. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, but we want to talk about Rick's work with those lights and how he uses them in landscape and in action photography. So we are also kind of introducing this new product line to you guys here at Camera West. This is something new here in our stores, and we wanted to have a little bit different way of showing these lights and how you can use them, and how you can use even lights that you currently have in your bag already, and try some different things with landscape and action photography. And I hope you are able to take a few tips and tricks and things that Rick has done with lights and take them away from this webinar and apply them to your photography today. So without any other further ado, we'll go ahead and bring Rick in here. Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Man, I'm good. How you doing this afternoon?
Good, good. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, and I believe it's, what, 5 o'clock your time over there? Are you still on the other side of the country?
Yeah, I'm over here on East Coast time, so it's a little bit in the evening here, but we are likewise glad to have you. So we'll go ahead and kind of turn it over to you, and let's show some photos and talk about some of your work here.
Yeah, so, I know in preparation for this, we were talking about how this all came to be, and it really started at Sony Kando 3.0 a couple of years ago. And, I was doing my part to go through the exhibit area, walk through, talk to the vendors, really felt it was incumbent upon me as a photographer. They put a lot of time and effort to be at Kando and support us. I wanted to make sure that, each of them that got their 15 or 20 minutes and saw what they had to offer. So I stopped by the Light in Motion, and I'm going to preface this by saying I was a pro photo user at that time, like very heavy pro photo, and I don't think there was any chance you were going to get me off a pro photo. In fact, I remember telling the folks at the Light in Motion booth that I use pro photo and I don't see a need for your light. I remember that very clearly. I was kind of not nice about it, and I didn't mean not to be nice about it, but I was trying to, just level set. And if we go to this first image, this is what they had set up. They had a light set up with 3 lights, gels, and a model right there. And I took a shot on the Sony that I was using at the time. And 2 things struck me immediately. Number one, I didn't have to meter anything. It didn't matter if I had a Sony, a Nikon, a Canon. I mean, it was Sony Kando, so of course we were Sony. But I could have been using a Leica or Fuji or whatever camera of choice I wanted, even an iPhone, and still walked away with an image like this because the lights are continuous. And it truly is a what you see is what you get type environment. So, I snapped the frame, said, oh, that's kind of nice. And I walked around and turned around next to me on the next image. Adam. Where's Adam? Adam. There we go.
Adam's our producer. He's back seeing you. Usually see him.
This was outside in direct sunlight. You can see the sun is behind these models, and this was kind of the wedding bliss gone awry. They were not a happy model couple on purpose. This is what the shoot we were setting up. But we were using the lights in direct sunlight to overpower and highlight the images and the faces of the models. And I was blown away by what we could do. And perhaps the biggest thing was the fact that it was on, it was light, and it's powerful. And I thought, wow, there might be a spot in addition to how I use pro photos to use the Light in Motions. And so I spent the entire trip at Kando really playing with the lights every chance I could get. If we go to the next image, to play around a little bit, try different things. I was really, because I shoot action photography and sports for a college up here, You know, a lot of my stuff is done outside and for portraiture work, for action portraits. So I was putting it through the pace, and we didn't have athletes, but we did have models, and we could go and you know, this sounds bad, but check out a model, right? And sign them out. So we want to use you for a shoot for 45 or 60 minutes and walk them through the concept. And we'd go out and have all these lights and gear. And it was an amazing experience. And what it showed me is that creativity now was going to take a new form. No longer did I need to set up a strobe. Did I need to set up and meter everything and then take a few test shots, chimp it, take a look at it, and reset? But I actually could set these up and out of the get-go have near perfect white balance and be ready to go. And any camera that I wanted, and I've done this with numerous cameras now, be able to create a great image, and it doesn't matter what you do. So if we go, Adam, to the next one. And there we go. So this really is a great shot of the model, and you can see the light, how it just warms her up from, you know, the sun is behind her directly. You can see it in the direction on the water, on the lily pads that are back there, and yet she's perfectly lit. And these are not strobes. This is continuous light, and we're outdoors on this. So the Stella Pro lights that we were using are just, I fell in love. At the end of the weekend or week, I think we were up there for a week, I was like, I've got to have these. And I'm really impressed by several aspects of what the lights have done and allowed me to do in my career. Number one, and I'm going to say this over and over and over again, they're extremely powerful. They're very, very light. And in fact, we're going to get a little further later on. I'm going to show you a light that weighs half a pound. You could put it in your pocket as you go hiking and be able to use it and create an environmental portrait if you wanted to. So if we wanted to go to the next, this was, again, a continuous light. We have a dancer that's moving from left to right on the stage, and being able to capture her and all of her athletic ability and the raindrops falling and have it well lit was amazing. Even more amazing, though, is the fact that these lights are waterproof. And if you live where I do in the Pacific Northwest, you either learn how to shoot in 50 Shades of Gray, no pun intended, or you learn how to shoot in the rain, because those are the two options we have 90% of the time up here. What's beautiful about these lights is I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's snowing. It could be a blizzard or a monsoon. I can use the lights outside and not worry about it, and not have to worry about, you know, electrical issues or the light shorting or something else, but be able to create these images in any type of environment we want to put it into.
What kind of, if you don't mind me interjecting here, like you said, you moved from ProPhoto to the light motion lights. I mean, ProPhoto makes an excellent product. These Stella Pro lights are awesome, but I think the main distinguisher here is moving from that strobe lighting to continuous lighting. Have you noticed, how does that influence a little bit more? Tell us a little bit more how that influences your time behind the camera and how you're seeing an image and creating.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ben. And, you know, one of the things that it afforded me was the ability to really have that WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. And when the lights are set up, you know exactly what you have. And if you look at this shot, she's moving. It's not in strobe. It's continuous. And yet I'm getting the same type of image quality that I would with the strobe. And that to me was kind of that aha. And I started to think about, okay, there's the weight, there's the battery, there's certainly the cost differential. Then there's the quality and the output and the ability to be able to do these things at a fraction of the cost and still create the same level of image that I had on strobe. That was a big deciding factor. And I still have pro photos for when I absolutely need them. Like if I'm in that NHL or not NHL, soon to be NHL arena, and you know, we're shooting our Western Hockey League and we're shooting from the rafters down to isolate an image. Obviously, we're going to use that because I need that type of power. But for 95% of what I'm doing, my Stella Pro lights are always in my bag.
So tell us a little bit more about this image then. Like, In a strobe setting, you'd probably be using the strobe to freeze this type of motion. But with a continuous light, well, are you using just a higher ISO, shutter speed?
No, actually, this is funny you say that. I believe we were using the CLX 8000s because the 10,000s had not been announced at the time. There were a total of 2 lights, both at the left and the right-hand side of the stage. They were dumping buckets of rain coming down, and the dancer would ballet dance across, leap up in the middle, and kind of go back and forth. I thought it was interesting because there's so much water that she didn't slip and slide and break a leg.
Oh my goodness.
There really was a lot of water at the bottom of this tarp area they had. But as you can see, we were able to freeze the motion. And I shot this, I think it was at 1/400th of a second, ISO 100. And I was using the 135 millimeter 1.8 with Sony's A7R4. And I was elevated on a ladder a little bit because I wanted to kind of get to the same level that she was and have her at that level of going across. And I was like, wow, okay. Not only can we create the image, there's clarity, there's depth, there's tonality to it. And it looks like I was using strobe, but instead it's continuous. I can tell you in working with athletes and in working with models, they like it because they're not getting that bright flash in their eyes all the time continuously. Right. So it's continued. They look at it and go, oh, all right, the lights are on, and they just go about their business. And it's actually easier for them. And it's more enjoyable working, as they've said to me about it. So I think it's
less fatigue.
Both ways area. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. The
Adam, you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, this is a cool image.
Yeah, so this is a cool image. This is cropped. There was somebody who wanted to have this whole car set, and the garage was concrete. So how do we get the garage on the black? How do we light this up? And this is actually a set of 4 lights across my right shoulder, down, up, and on the bottom. And we threw down some black plexiglass that we put on, and then we just put tape to make it seamless. We had to light it that way also to make it so it wouldn't show up. And it was not an easy. I think we spent probably 3.5, 4 hours prepping for a 20-minute actual shoot. It was crazy. But I would love to have this guy's garage. These are just 3 of it in this collection that he has. And I was like, yeah, I look at that and go, that would be nice to drive one of those someday.
Yeah, but I'm sure in the setup of this image, when you were behind the camera and you're setting up these lights, the continuous light, I mean, you're able to just tweak.
Well, here's the cool thing, right? You knew where the shadows were going to be. You knew where the light was. So if you saw something that was hot, you could say, hey, let's move this over a little bit to the left or to the right or above. You actually could help the crew place the lights where they need to be without, again, having to take that test shot, look at it, go back, meter, everything else. You go in and shoot. And it wasn't as easy as going to shoot, obviously, but it allowed us to take a look at the scene, set it up in such a way that it was like, yeah, this is going to be perfect. And you knew that the image coming out of the camera was going to look like this. Like there wasn't a hidden, oh, well, this is too light, or oh, that was too dark. It was, again, I keep going back to the WYSIWYG of what you see is what you get. And that's one of the biggest values is that it allows you to work faster. So if we go to the next image, I believe, so you'll see on either side of the Seattle Dragons, which is a now defunct XFL team here in Seattle, they were at the press conference announcing their new uniforms. You notice that there's no other lights. There are 2 CLX 10 lights. Those are my lights. And you notice that there's video crew. And the reason that we're doing that is that these lights are TLCI, which is Television Light Color Index rated. Well, if you shoot video, this simply means that this is near perfect white balance, and you can turn your video camera on and you don't have to worry about changing it later in post. It's going to be spot on and ready to go for TV. These lights powered enough for the athlete for us to shoot, for the video to capture what they needed for the evening news. So we had Fox there, we had CBS, we had ABC, and the rest of us, the media that were shooting with the cameras, were able to get our stills. But these 2 lights positioned this way, done. Simple, super easy, effective. This is what we had, and it worked. And that, to me, was another selling point. In fact, the Seattle Times said, okay, how do we get a set of these lights to our crew? Because this was just too easy and too good. Like, this is just unheard of. And they're so light compared to carrying the big cases of like the B1X, for location, or the D1s or something else, which are, 10, 15, 20 pounds. You carry 4 of those. That's a big load to load in. These you just carry in your camera bag, put them up on a stand, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, easy setup. What's the battery life look like on those lights then? I'm sure you were doing this for a while.
Yeah. So we were here for about half an hour, and on high. So if I'm running at 10,000 lumens at the highest setting, I can go 50 minutes. If I go to the lowest, which I believe is 2,000 lumens, I can go for 900 minutes. So I know we weren't at the highest. I think we were probably around 6 or 7. And we were just like, no problem. I've probably had 5 or 6 shoots that I've done before I have to recharge the lights. And each shoot will go, when I'm shooting a team media days for the college, it's an hour of individual photos, and it's a good hour of cat wrangling all the athletes to get them set for their team photo. Mm-hmm. Then if you're shooting women's softball or soccer, the girls want all these cute poses. Can we do this? Can we do that? There's another hour of all that fun stuff, and to just keep on going. You can plug them in and use them if you needed to, but I have found that most of the time everything's charged, and if I have to go a couple shoots in between charges, it's not been a problem.
And do you find yourself, I know you have different systems in your kit as far as camera gear goes.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah. I see this in this picture as well. It's like you don't have to switch remotes or anything. You get to just pick up a different system and, pretty much just set your settings and continue shooting.
Well, let's take this image. That's a great question, Ben. If you take this image right here, you have the 2 lights. I could have picked up my Leica S3 or SL2. I think this was shot on my Sony A9 II with the 70-200. It doesn't matter. I could have used the iPhone. I could have used the Leica CLX or a Fuji or whatever you use, Canon, Nikon, take your pick. You'd still get the same quality of image. So it's camera independent. It doesn't need to be married to a camera. You don't need a trigger point. And in fact, one of the nice things about it is Stellapro Lights includes in the kit I think it's an Electron based remote, so I can individually control power to each light using a remote. So if I say the light on the left, I name that as number 1, and the one on the right is number 2, I can control the different images that go, or different power settings to each light to change that light. And by doing that, I can see exactly what the scene is going to be like before I even pick up the camera and shoot.
That's pretty flexible. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. The next image is just a quick tennis image. And this is where I think the beauty of this came in. The coach says you've got 10 minutes. You got to get the girls here. We've got a match to go to. They were late getting everybody together. It ended up being about 6 minutes. And I was able to put the lights up, get down low, shoot the girls, and be done. If I had strobes, I'd have to put soft boxes on. I would have to put a meter on it. I'd have to check, make sure everything was dialed in. I was easy to come in, set up, go, get out of the way, and be done, and have the coach be happy, the team be happy, and move on to the next thing I had for that day. You can't do that with strobes. And when we're shooting pro athletes, especially if we shoot, I've got photographers that shoot for the Seahawks. They've got 30 seconds to a minute with Russell Wilson to get 3 images. That's it. So everything is all set up, and they're now starting to use the Stella Pro lights for what they're doing. One of the photographers is. And so, that speed, the ability to do it quickly, to have what you see is what you get, and have that kind of power, then I think it's a win-win situation for so many possible scenarios. Now, most people would say, yeah, I could do this with strobe. I get it. These are portraits. I think if we go an image or 2 down, we're going to see some of the really fun stuff that you alluded to. And that's where I get excited about these lights because I'm using them in ways I never thought possible until I started to play with them and truly understand and see what they were capable of doing. So Adam, go to the next one.
Yeah.
All right, this is another sports one. I'm going to skip through because I really want to spend some time on the what I'll call the fun ones. So Adam, go next. Okay. This was just a shot just in the rain, but I have a special surprise for you at the end of this that, Ben, you haven't seen yet. So I want to share something with you I shot last night.
Okay.
At about 10 o'clock in the pitch dark, and I think it might impress you and anybody that's on the webinar. So Adam, go to the next one. Okay. Landscape. Most people don't think about taking lights out in landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I absolutely love them. And I'm going to hold up one of the lights that I take with me all the time. This is the Stella Pro 1000. This is super, super tiny. If you can see this, it's half a pound. And all I have to do to turn it on is hold this down. There we go. And I'm not going to fuzz it in there, but I've got light and I can do power. So I can put a lot of power behind me, or I can put a little bit of power behind me. I'll take this light everywhere I go for one reason. And if you go back to the image, Adam, I could put a gel on it, and I was able to marry the sky with the snow here with a pink gel and softly and make this match up. And I didn't have to do this in post. And I could do this right out here at Tabletop, which is in Alberta, Canada, and create something that was unique and different. If we go to the next one, Adam. Okay. So on the left image is the original image. It's a little, I just had a white light. But then I went whiter and put a bluer gel on and was able to create the restaurant that's at Emerald Lake Lodge in Canada. And give the snow in the foreground a little bit of texture and light to it to add an element, not just as a foreground piece, but as something that's different and adds color into something that was really harsh light in this particular scenario with what I was trying to shoot. So it was a nice way to soften the image that was otherwise a little bit hard.
Now, are you light painting that, or are you just like?
Nope. I'm just putting it on the lowest setting, and I'll put a gel. So I use hard gels, and I'll use soft gels, and I've cut them to the size, and I'll fold them over. I use Velcro, and they just like Velcro on and over the piece of it and shoot through it, and it's not a problem. So I've got, I think, a pack of 64 of these different colors that I've gotten from Honnold Light Modifiers, and Dave Honnold developed these, and they worked great on speed lights, and I just incorporated them into the Stella Pro lights to be able to use this when I'm out and doing landscape and conducting workshops as a different way to light a scene that you maybe not think about.
Absolutely. That's really interesting.
Adam?
I think there's... Yeah, this is a cool image. Yeah. I like this one.
So I want to explain this one. This is Abraham Lake. This is actually a frozen lake. I'm on 6 to 8 inches of frozen ice here. So on the very far left is the first image. This was the test image, and I just put a flashlight. I think it was actually my cell phone camera light on my iPhone, just on the front. The next image was an image where I said, okay, I think there's an opportunity. If we can go out, we can light and use a snoot to put light across the ice. And because we had undulations of the ice, and you can't really see it, but the rocky part in the pink out there is actually raised ice waves as the water goes underneath. We're able to create something really unique. And then once I got back and had post and it could take the noise out, the image on the far right is what we ended up with. So this was something that, we didn't have a whole lot, but having the lights there allowed us to get something much more creative and do something that's totally unique and it wouldn't be able to do under normal circumstances if you didn't have it.
Yeah, you would not see any of that foreground, and I don't even think you could bring that out in post-production, that detail in the foreground with it being that dark. You'd have to light it somehow.
Yeah,
and
those methane gas bubbles. This is the first time I've been on a frozen lake. I'm not from the Midwest, and this was a little scary. It took me a few hours to get the courage, to be honest, to walk out there during the day. And I saw a lot of people, and I'm like, all right, if everybody's out there and they're not falling in, I guess I can go out there. But once I got out there, I fell in love. Like, I've never seen anything like this, and this was crazy. And I wanted to get Orion's belt and try to get something clean out of that, and being able to pull these together and work on this, and being able to work the scene. Like we teach in our landscape workshop. Sometimes you go to a scene and you find the composition you like. Now really work at it. Think about it. How do you envision it? How do you want to bring that vision to life? And now with some of the nighttime stuff we're doing, we have lights that we can add to it to add a whole different element to it.
Absolutely. And did you like sorry, one more question. Did you like the little, like in the middle of the image, there's like a streak of light. Did you light that as well with the lights?
No, those are star lights. Those
Okay.
are the lights from the stars shining on the lake.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. This is Canada. These are clear skies. It's pretty cool.
Not used to that.
Yeah, I would love to go back if COVID would ever go away, so I could travel back up there. We did a zoo walk in 2019 here at Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle, and we brought a couple of models along with us. And what we were doing with it is working with the Stella lights and showing people how just on a normal type of event like this, where you're just out wanting to mess around, you can carry one of these small lights. And again, we had the 1000 that I was talking about, this very small one, and use it to light these up. And you can see the tree in the back. You can nice poke on all the lights of the tree, but we really were able to get their faces well lit and evenly balanced, and they're over the fire, and it's a nice warm winter type scene. And we had a ball doing it, even though it was pouring rain during the whole thing. But typical Seattle weather, right? Power through it, and it just that's rain, so that's how it is.
That's how it is.
So another portrait in the snow. Again, this is a couple. They don't have kids. They have a dog. They wanted something out in the woods, and I used 2 lights. I used actually a Profoto Lightbox Modifier. It was a 2x3 box on this, and that's the other thing that you can add to these lights. Stella has a lot of wonderful modifiers, and they've got rings that will work with the Profoto modifiers. So you can put that on, and if you already have an existing amount of Electron or Profoto or other modifiers, you don't have to go out and buy new ones. You can use what you currently have. They also have domes. They've got Fresnel lenses and all sorts of accessories and barn doors that you can add to it. But in this instance, it was just a simple shot of wanting to pull the people in, capture the snow, light them up a little bit, and they just come back from vacation in Mexico, so they're a little suntan in the middle of December, but good for them.
You find that the continuous lights, I'm sure, help with portraiture work because you're able to work with the people a little bit better and get the reactions that you need, and capture them almost in a reportage type style.
It definitely is. And I think having a rapport with the client and the subject is certainly helpful. But also, too, having the lights where they don't have to worry about it. And they're not, in a typical situation, they're going to be in a studio setting somewhere, and there's strobes and strobes and strobes and strobes. And that's what they're used to. And they're kind of like, well, okay, are we ready? I'm like, just be yourself. And we're snapping away, and they're like, oh, okay, great. We're done. Moving on. Like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it gives you that freedom and flexibility to do this, to be able to say, hey, let's just be in the moment, and the light's just going to add some enhancement to what we're trying to do.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Okay. So this is the 1000, and I wanted to do this, and these are cell phone and then the Leica, I believe this would be the S3, which is the new medium format Leica on the right-hand side. And so about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, a week and a half ago, it's pretty dark out. And all I wanted to do with my cell phone is just capture what the image would look like without a light. The one on the right is just me hand holding the Stella Pro 1000, just light. These are not great landscape. They are not, I would never show these anyway. These are simply to show in almost near darkness what you can do. And if you were out walking, around or hiking or something like that, the power of having something this small in your hands or in your backpack, what you're able to do. If you go to the next one, Adam. and another set of these. So it's even darker, and you can see a little bit of the light left is coming out on the left-hand side. And again, using this, and there's like 3 settings, so it's kind of hard to see, but if I'm pointing it up, you can see 3 LED lights at the top of the light. I was on setting number 1. So there we go. I'll try it that way. So setting number 1 has the lowest amount of power. And all I did was put, you can see I've got a little gel right here. There we go. That comes on, comes off. I've got hard glass. Just slide that back on, and I can warm up my light however I want to go.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just something unique and different that, a lot of people don't think about it, but, maybe you're out hiking in the day, it's getting late, and you come across a scene that you really like. Now you can light it up and possibly walk away with a good image. And what I want to show is, like, even if it's dark, you can still create something that's nice and warm and fuzzy.
Recreate the sun, essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. Adam, next. Okay, so last night, before we get to this, Adam, before we pull it up, I'm going to set this up. I wanted to do something very unique, show this, because it's one thing to be an ambassador. It's one thing people say, oh, you're a fanboy. No, I'm definitely not a fanboy. I definitely am an ambassador, and I do like these lights. And I'm going to show you why I like these lights. So I did a quick video, and this is raw. This is not staged. There's nothing to it. So Adam, if you want to pull up this video, I'm going to show you before you hit play. I'm going to show you, this is the Stella Pro 5000. I can unscrew this, and I'm going to just show you can see the fan, that the blades on this. This is solid glass right here, so it doesn't come off, it doesn't change. And Adam, roll the video, and I'll let your audience tell us what they think.
And I'm out here at a hot tub, and I have the lights on in the hot tub and the light from the phone. What I'm going to do is, I've got the 5000. I'm going to turn it on right now. Here we go. This light is going to go into this completely submersible. So, and still work in the water. Check it out. And I'll turn these lights off. There we go. Now think about this in terms of light and what you could do if you were in a mountain stream or in a lake or somewhere and you wanted to use a light underwater to highlight something. Pretty cool, isn't it? And here I am touching it right afterwards.
Okay, you can stop the video now. We're on the train. So this light in my hand was in the water completely working. And just there, you can see it's on. So this is what they're powerful. This is what they're capable of doing. Completely submersible. There are 2 projects coming up that I can't wait to use them on. One is we're doing a shoot with a model that we're going to be doing, and we're lighting a river stream as she sits on a log that crosses the river. And so this is going to be kind of a fantasy type shoot. It's going to be really interesting. We're working through all the details of it, but this was the first thing I thought about when I got my hands on this light. The second one won't come until later this year. Excuse me. And again, it depends on if COVID is enough that I can travel up there. But there are ice caves up in Jasper, Alberta. And I will be taking a whole series of these lights and doing a fire and ice shoot within these ice caves to light it and have a model up there. We got someone who's got long red hair. She's going to be doing a red cape, so looking like Little Red Riding Hood. We actually are going to be working with the Northern Wolf Conservation Project that has wolves that share them with public and teach them about wolves. They're going to come out and bring them out and make that part of the scene as well. And I think right now we're looking at having 6 or 7 of these different lights lighting up the ice caves in different colors to set this whole scene. So again, lights that you wouldn't think normal to use. You would say, okay, it's portrait, it's studio, it's something we're going to do there. I say, yeah, you can. They're great there, but how about elsewhere? How about outside? How about unique? How
Right.
about something different? I keep coming back to this 1000 because it's half a pound. It's so small compared to the 5000, and then the 5000 compared to the there's the 10,000. And so if I compare them right here, it's just not that much different. There we go. There we go. Not that much different. So super powerful, super light, super easy to carry, goes in a camera bag. You can put it on your airplane. You don't have to worry about it. You notice that the other thing too, there's no battery. The battery's all inside. It's a DTAP battery. It's already included. It's inside. You don't have to worry about it. It's just
Perfect.
there. So this is your light. This is what you're taking. And you're taking a small power that plugs into the holes right here on the back. Plug it in at nighttime and you're ready to go the next day for whatever you need to do. But you've got your light and you can do some amazing stuff with it. We're talking about, there's a waterfall that just got accessible due to the snow melt. We're talking about putting the lights behind the waterfall and some gels on that to light up behind the waterfall and try something that. And if you know the Pacific Northwest area, you know there's Snoqualmie Falls, which are larger than Niagara Falls. We're working with the tribal lodge at Salish Tribe to actually get access to go behind and in the crevices of the rocks down there and try to do some creative lighting on that. I'm not sure how that's going to work. We haven't been so successful yet on that one, but we're still trying because I think it'd be a really cool image to create. So
that sounds really interesting. Going back to the lights there, why don't we talk about those a little bit? What are the main power differences? I'm guessing the 1000, 5000. Well, I know, but 1000, 5000, and 10,000 are wattage based.
There's a
power
lumen.
numbers.
So they're lumens. Okay. So they're lumens. So I don't have a conversion table. I don't know how to convert them. All I know is that if I put this light on full power, I'm going to blind you.
Yeah.
So that means to me, that's powerful. You saw the daylight shots. Mm-hmm. When we were using these lights in the daylight to light the models within that bright sun, and it was like 85 degrees that day, and the sun is low and coming right in our eyes. That was it. I was like, okay, they work outside, they work inside, they work in rain, they work in snow, they work in water, underwater. I mean, where don't they work is the question.
Yeah.
And that is right. And that's the thing that I think it makes them so unique. Again, size, power, portability, weight,
weatherproofing.
Right. Weatherproofing, ease of use. You can't buy a better light that's out there. And when I think about, landscape tours, or think about photo adventures that we do, and in fact, we talk about that in a little bit. These are amazing to be able to have. Now, ProPhoto's got the A1X, but you got to have a trigger on your camera for it, and it's got to be specific to the camera. So I can't use what I have for Sony on my Leica, so that doesn't work. I can take stuff out, but they don't have a Leica specific because I usually use my Leicas when I'm shooting landscape. And it's a very, it just simplifies everything. And for me as a photographer, especially when it comes to my sports and getting the teams done, I need fast, quick, simple. I'm like, we're on point. We don't have time to mess around. If I go out in the landscapes, I get to breathe a little bit. I get to think. And this is where it really opens up the creativity. It's like, okay, this is really nice. What if we put some light a little bit here and then created this mystical scene of something in the woods? Or, we added some blue and green on an empty riverbed of rocks, and then all of a sudden we've got this scene of make-believe water running. It's just your creativity.
Opens up the opportunities.
Yeah, and I love having the opportunity to be able to use them wherever it strikes.
Certainly. That actually kind of leads us into, and Adam, if you want to throw the URL down below, but Rick and a few other photographers are doing some big sky photo adventures, and you guys are doing landscape photography. I have to use the word workshop, but they're not really workshops. Maybe tell us a little bit more about why they're different.
Sure. So we all got together and we've done, in between the three of us, we've probably done 30, 32 different workshops. And there's things that we liked, there's things that we didn't like. And when we thought about it, first of all, the name workshop, I don't like the name workshop. It just sounds, ugh, it's workshop. Like I'm being forced to do something. And yes, I know it's a great opportunity to go and learn. It's a great opportunity to increase your skill set, to sharpen your saw. And don't get me wrong, we love doing that. But when we're doing landscape, we don't control nature. We don't control the weather. We don't control the wildlife. And if we're out where the public is, I certainly don't control the public. So it pretty much is an adventure. So we decided to focus on our photo adventures. And we are doing something that there's no one else doing. Number one, we offer all inclusive. So you're staying at a resort or you're staying on private land in lodges or in cabins. If we're in Montana, it's those. If we're up in the Washington area, we have the Inn at Mazama. And your food, beverages, and your lodging are all included. So you no longer have to make multiple reservations. You don't have to worry about where you're going to eat or something else. We have it all taken care of for you. The second thing that we do is upon check-in in your room, there's what we call surprise sense of light. And I won't go into what's in that gift bag, but it's some pretty cool stuff. And we've not heard anybody complain. But perhaps the thing that we do, in addition to all that, that's way different than anybody else, is our partnership with you guys at Camera West. And it's something that we've worked on, as you alluded to, for a long time now. And we have a very deep partnership on this. Imagine if you were going to Montana, for example, and we're going to Glacier, and you wanted to do some Milky Way shots in Glacier, but you were shooting, say, a Sony, and you didn't have the 24-1.4, which is a nighttime killer, in my opinion, on the Sony system. I'd call Ben and say, hey, I have somebody in my workshop that would like to use the Sony 24. Ben's like, okay, no problem. Maybe they want to use the Fuji system. Maybe they've got a Nikon or Canon or possibly even SL2 or a lens. All of that gear is shipped and we hand it out to you to use for the entire workshop. And that is where the adventure begins. Because now you're like, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? You're going to be able to go create. You're going to be able to stay in the moment. We've taken care of everything. We've got some great locations that we've picked out. We have them across Montana and Washington right now. Later this year, we're taking a group of people to Nepal with our own Sherpas that we have set up down there that have over 32 ascents to Everest. Next year, we're adding Chile and Italy. And in year 3, we're adding Iceland, and we have a private ranch in Iceland where we actually get to stay on the ranch with the relationships we have. So most of the places that we have, they're private, they're not public. And that means that you have a secluded location. It means your images are not going to be plastered all over social media. So take the Grand Tetons, right? We've seen a gazillion images from the Grand Tetons. Well, we're going to take you some places that there's only 8 people max in these workshops. You will not see the same images everywhere else. I guarantee you. You're going to be able to work with some great gear, courtesy of our partner at Camera West and our dealer of choice. And you're going to get some cool things in your bag that you probably need that you didn't think you needed. And you're going to have a great time. And I guarantee you, it'll be an experience, an adventure like you've never had. So we're really excited to launch them this year with you guys. We've been waiting, and COVID kind of pushed us back a year, but this is the year with all the vaccinations that people can start moving about a little bit more. And I wish it was starting today because we're ready.
We're excited to partner with Big Sky Adventures and you guys over there. You know, as Rick was saying, it's a different kind of experience with workshops. We've done workshops in the past, and they're a lot of fun, but I think what we're doing here with Rick and Big Skies is a little different. As he was saying, it's everything is covered. You don't have to worry about anything. You show up, you do the workshop, you get to focus on photography. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with the lights. the gear gets out of the way and you just get to enjoy taking photos and enjoy the adventure, enjoy the experience. So that's the big draw I see to doing this type of photo adventure. And then, we're here to support and help you maybe find something or try something new as far as a new lens or, maybe a Stella Pro light. That's, something you've never tried before. Try a new technique with it.
Yeah.
Experience something. It's really interesting.
I should add that Stella Pro Lights is also partnering with us on that. And the best image created during the workshop will end up with a pair of either the 1000s or the 2000s that they get to take home. Maybe one or might be two. We're still working on the final details, but tell me where you're going to get some amazing food. You got a great location. You've got gear to use that doesn't cost you anything. You're getting all of these goodies, right? Surprising delights, and you get a chance to walk away with some lights. Like, that's unheard of. And we're doing it, and it's not very much more than what our competition would be doing just to show up and have a workshop. So we're not going to drive you crazy. You're not going to spend hours in the car. We've already scouted everything. It's close. It's easy. Even if you want to do some, hiking, it's minimal, so you don't have to be in the world's best shape. And so it's all ages, all expertise. But really, as Ben said, this is so you can be in the moment. And that's where we want photography to go back, is like being in the moment and being creative. And, this is what we're excited about doing. So we can't wait to get started and partner with you guys. And we look forward to adding more as the time goes on and adding more to our repertoire of locations next year. And then the year after that. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting adventure.
Absolutely. I forgot to mention at the beginning of our webinar, because it was down on our last Hasselblad webinar, but there is a Q&A section. If you have any questions for Rick, we'll go ahead and open it up for the next, last few minutes here. But Rick, while we're doing that, why don't you tell us about your most recent upcoming one? I think in Colorado, correct?
Yeah, we're in Colorado. So this is the Western Rocky Mountain Treasure Hunt, as we're calling it. And we're going to be in the town of Leadville, visiting ghost towns and old mining towns, as well as doing sunrises at Twin Lakes, sunsets in the other areas. We've got some really cool in-town surprises for everybody to go and shoot. I don't want to give everything away, but it's something unique. And when we set up our locations, we wanted locations that were not done a million times, right? We wanted to pick some really cool, idyllic locations that people haven't seen, that people go, wow, I had no idea that existed, or that was really neat. And it's different. And if you've picked up anything on this today, we look at things a little bit differently. We like to step out of the mainstream of everybody and kind of go to a different path that we do, because we feel when you take the blinders off and you open it up, there's a whole world out there. And too many times I'm looking, I don't have a phone here, but I'll take a hard drive. So many times you see people walking around like this and they've got their phone and they're doing all this stuff, and the whole world's passing them by. And that's part of what our adventure is all about, is opening your eyes to new things and new locations. So the first one's June 23rd through the 25th, or 25th through the 27th. I'm sorry, I've been so busy with all these things, I'm getting dates mixed up. But it's going to be in Colorado and Leadville. Bill Baum will be joining me. Bill is an accomplished photographer on his own. He is an ex-U.S. Olympic ski team coach. He has traveled the world. He's been in the industry for a number of years, and his vision is something that I rely on all the time. I can't wait to partner with him, have you guys come out and join us. And I think it's really going to set the stage for the rest of 2020 or 2021. Sorry.
We're 2021 now.
Yeah, I know.
COVID, hard to believe.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. Really glad to have you here and talk about these lights. Of course, we are now a Light Motion and Stella Pro dealer. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Even if you have questions for Rick on how maybe he uses stuff, how he uses the Stella Pro lights, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to help you get set up with a set of lights, and we're more than happy to get you a demo or something along those lines. So I think that's about it. I don't see any questions coming in, but
Yeah.
Of course.
No, Bill, my wife bought it. It's Thomasville or something like that. I'm not sure. Sorry, we're in the mountains right now, so my space is not exactly a studio. I've got to share a bedroom with a desk.
Super. Well, thank you for joining us, Rick. I think that we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. And if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to us. And we'd be more than happy to help you. And thank you so much for joining us, Rick. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks for your support, and we'll see you guys out on the adventures.
Sounds good. See you guys.